Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to the first inaugural episode of The Backlog. This is a video game focused podcast where we unpack the most juicy and meaty news stories from the gaming industry each and every week. This week, we have a specific topic that kind of blew up on the airwaves in the gaming industry with a company closing, unfortunately. And that is the closing of Visceral Studios and the redirection or pivoting of the Star Wars game that Visceral was working on with the leadership of Amy Henning. If you don't know, Amy Henning was the writer on the early Uncharted games. She's an amazing writer within the gaming industry. And now her future with this Star Wars game and with the company is up in the air. So first and foremost, I'd like to read the statement from Patrick Sutherland from EA, and this is kind of touching on exactly what happened, why they've decided to pivot and change their direction with the Star Wars game that was being made by Visceral Studios. Patrick writes, "Our industry is evolving faster and more dramatically than ever before. The games we want to play and spend time with, the experiences we want to have in those games, and the way we play, all of those things are continually changing. So is the way games are made. In this fast-moving space, we are always focused on creating experiences that our players want to play, and today that means we're making a significant change with one of our upcoming titles. Our Visceral Studio has been developing an action-adventure title set in the Star Wars universe. In its current form, it was shaping up to be a story-based, linear adventure game. Throughout development process, we have been testing the game concept with players, listening to the feedback about what and how they want to play, and closely tracking fundamental shifts in the marketplace. It has become clear that to deliver an experience that players will want to come back to and enjoy for a long time to come, we needed to pivot the design. We will maintain the stunning visuals, authenticity in the Star Wars universe, and focus on bringing Star Wars story to life. Importantly, we are shifting the game to be a broader experience that allows for more variety and player agency, leaning into the capabilities of our Frostbite engine and reimagining central elements of the game to give players a Star Wars adventure of greater depth and breadth to explore. This move leads to a few other changes. A development team from across EA Worldwide Studios will take on development of this game, led by a team from EA Vancouver that has already been working on the project. Our Visceral Studio will be ramping down and closing, and we're in the midst of shifting as many of the team as possible to other projects and teams at EA." That's where I will stop. There are a few more paragraphs, but those are the main kind of crux of what we're going to discuss right now. And so, with hearing that and kind of looking at what he was saying with shifting, pivoting, looking at where the industry is, and specifically what he said about it being it was shaping up to be a linear action-adventure experience.
Yep.
First thing that comes to mind to me, and I want to see what you say as well, Brent, is we don't want to make a single-player 10-hour game. We want to make a larger scale, open world, almost Destiny style game without saying it, so that we may have a game that has a much longer tail in order to get more out of the game for the players, and also in order to reap more benefits financially on the back end. What do you think?
So I agree. So when I heard it, I thought instantly multiplayer.
Right.
Now, the thing is that I think of Destiny offhand, I actually didn't.
Okay.
But I was thinking something that was still co-op. I was thinking co-op of some sort, or a newer version of like Star Wars, the MMO, the like, MMO games, Knights of the Old Republic.
Right.
Like something like that, where and I guess that would be Destiny technically. So yeah, I agree with you actually wholeheartedly.
Now here's the thing about that interests me, like moving down in the paragraph where they talk about built in our Frostbite to show off our Frostbite engine. Now, one of the first big games that was built in the Frostbite engine, and that is built in the Frostbite now, and of course you have Star Wars Battlefront, and then you also have you have the Division.
Yes.
Now, if we look at it, that was kind of what I thought about, because a lot of people in the industry were coming out and saying that that's what their first mind went to Destiny. Now, by it being in the Frostbite engine, I kind of thought to myself, what about the Division? Which, of course, is always been compared to Destiny itself in general. But would it be far-fetched to put it past being a Star Wars game with the framework of something like the Division?
Actually, I would really enjoy that, because the Division might actually be better to me than actual Destiny, because with Destiny, although it's co-op, it is very linear. Like, you're going I'm going point A, point B, point C. We're going through basically these story missions. We're going to do this challenge for the week, and then it's basically a grind. Right. I don't want to grind with Star Wars, not in that sense, like grind like that with Star Wars. Right. With Star Wars, I would like to run through the world, do like a mission or an objective, like maybe on the fly, like, hey, there is stormtroopers up here. Let's clear out the area. Right. Or B, okay, we're doing a story mission. I don't want to see 7 Darth Mauls running beside me. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like, it's it breaks the immersion.
Like, it breaks that immersion. But
absolutely,
you also could have good and bad. So you could go into a dark sector, and that'd be that PvP. And then now there's Darth Mauls, there's Boba Fett's, there's, you know what I'm saying? Like, those considered evil people versus the good guys, the dark and the light. So you could have that immersion where maybe both parties gets to do a mission.
Right.
And maybe it's like, who can take out whoever the enemy is first.
Right.
Because they come up with like a bigger force that's, bigger force than the dark and light. When I first heard this and heard them changing, I was like, I don't want another Star Wars game, like a single player Star Wars game where I'm Star Killer.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
I don't care about playing Star Wars by myself. I can play old games if I want to do that. We've done that.
Yeah.
But I would like to jump in there with my buddies and go through a universe, or learn how to build a lightsaber, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, do that RPG aspect where it's not grinding to get like, oh, what's the next lightsaber? But maybe they drop me a lightsaber that I really like, or maybe I want to be the next Boba Fett.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
I could customize myself in that universe.
Now, I believe we represent a specific sect of gamers in this situation, because I think we are people who have a group of friends that we like to play games with. So we really enjoy co-op games. Now, the biggest thing and backlash, and rightfully so, I think in some respects, is there were a lot of people within the industry, and then of course fans of gaming in general, were worried what this meant about the state of single player games in general. And
they're
then also, yeah, absolutely. But also, they wanted to see what a writer with the skill of Amy Henning could do with one of their favorite properties, and giving a very story-based single-player game. Now, I'm with you where I would rather play in the Star Wars universe with my friends, especially if it's something that is up to a quality level that is far beyond and better than what you have with just a straight up MMO, and a little bit more focused and grounded, where it's like maybe like 3 to 4 players co-op, but then the world can be much more thought out, much higher quality, where you don't get kind of some of the scale backs that you have in an MMO. I'm fine with it. I think we both agree on that aspect, but I just wanted to make that point. That's kind of where a lot of the backlash was coming from, is a lot of people were very excited to see an Amy Hennig written Star Wars game.
So with that, if they were to do more single player Star Wars games, right? I would rather they go the Telltale route, where if we're going to have a story, let's do episodes. Let's do like my choices affect my universe type of thing where my decisions matter, right? Because Star Wars is a journey, and if you're going to pay $60 for a 10-hour game that basically you can run through twice, but at the end of it, it becomes basically a force thing, this run, slice dash, open this, force this, and then repeat and rinse.
Right.
But if they did it to where it was more, we're going single player, and let's say Amy or somebody, took the realm and they made the story for a single player, but they did it like Telltale style, where it's actual episodic, and you don't know what your options or your choices, how they will affect.
Right.
I believe that would give it replay value, and that would make it water cooler material that you want from a single player game. Like, what decision did you make? Oh no, Yoda died because I chose to, because I didn't listen to him, maybe a decision in the first half of the game.
Right.
And you can make those like 4-hour, 6-hour episodes to where you get that nourishment that you want from a Star Wars game, but actual story driven.
Right.
Because any other way, if you leave me in the open world, I want to be the creator of that story.
Right, absolutely. Yeah,
But-
you want that player agency, which that seems to be one of the reasons they did pivot, and one of the things that led them to kind of change is it seemed like from the testing that they were doing, people wanted exactly that. They wanted more player agency overall. Now, the biggest thing right now up in the air is if Amy Hennig is going to stay on with EA and possibly float over to EA Vancouver to head up writing on whatever this ends up being. In my personal opinion, I hope she does, because one of the things that you usually get in a lot of these games, whether it's, let's say, the way Destiny started out, or even The Division, the story is usually, hopefully, okay at best. But a lot of times that's what we end up with, because there's so much weight put on the fact that you're with your friends, you have the player agency, so you make the story, but here's a light stringing of a background narrative to kind of tie it all together, just so it doesn't feel like you're just fucking doing whatever you want to do,
Right.
and it doesn't make any sense to a overarching story point. So with that said, given a more focused, cooperative, open type experience written by someone who can literally write her ass off, I think you have a potential for something great. So I'm hoping that's what happens. And even still, if it is a more open, broader experience, if they find some way to retain Amy Hennig and she wants to stay on, if there is a way that you can still, like in The Division, play it by yourself, then there you go.
I got the best combination of what you want. Red Dead Redemption Star Wars version.
Right.
Because
Or like
and I
GTA
say
Online
that
Star Wars.
because it's, you play that single player, right?
Right.
But as soon as you join up with your friends, these mission in that world becomes more alive, because you're now creating the story that's organic, right? So, and if you did that with Star Wars, where let's say you're on one planet and you travel to another planet and they meet up with you on another planet. And let's say 1 minute you're chasing down the Ewoks. And then the next minute you're trying to steal a ATT.
Yeah, ATST or AT.
AT, yeah, there you go. Forgive me, all the Star Wars people out there. So, like, I think that would be the perfect fusion of that. I really want to see her write a Star Wars game, if possible, in the future.
Yeah.
But I also think what she handed off was Star Wars 1313.
Yeah, that's where this kind of, that was the beginning thread of this whole single player Star Wars game, and that's kind of where I think a lot of the disappointment / backlash came from, is because 1313, when it was first revealed, looked awesome in concept.
Yeah.
And then we moved on to like, well, 1313's dead, but Star Wars is getting Visceral, who gave us Dead Space, which is an excellent game. Now we're going to take over that, and we're going to give you a single player experience. Oh, and also Amy Hennig is writing. And it's like, oh shit, like everybody lost their mind,
Dead
respectively.
Space a Dead Space Star Wars, like maybe
A
not
horror-
horror, but where you're like co-op and you're going through like maybe you're a Padawan and the Jedi, or the Sith, their apprenticeship. Like maybe
Right.
you have that combo where you
That'd
could
be
be
interesting.
Luke and Obi-Wan running
Yeah.
through. Like that
Yeah.
could be
Be crazy.
awesome. Like
Yeah.
that could be amazing. Star
Now-
Wars, talk to us.
Yeah.
We got you.
Now, with that said, let us know what you think about the whole situation. Were you looking forward to the single player Amy Hennig written Star Wars game? Are you disappointed that it's shifting to a more open-ended type game, or are you fine with it? Let us know. All this still goes. This is all still under the Oath Discussions umbrella at oathdiscussions@gmail.com. Just in the subject header, write the backlog. I apologize.
Backlog.
That way we can know exactly what show it's for. And like I said, these will be every week. We will do these a couple times a week, focusing and kind of unpacking individual news stories within the gaming industry. Thank you very much. I am at KNKidSwift on Twitter. Brent is at LOCoolB on Twitter. Webb is
22.
at Webb859. Yes, and Shane is at ShaneMB. Drop us a line on the Facebook page, facebook.com/group/Oath Discussions. Join up in there. Let us know what you think. Drop us topics if you want us to speak about on either show, whether it's gaming related or otherwise. Let us know what you think. We appreciate you guys. We will see you guys next time for the backlog. Peace.
Peace.